Well, hello and welcome back to another episode of At Random. My name's Rick Timmis.
I'm John Wordsworth.
Jackson Matthews, here with you again.
So, welcome everybody, and we're delighted that you could join us. And let's get right into it because I'm really excited about this new website. John, we got a new website.
Yeah, new website's pushing it because, evolved, iteration. It's an agile website for the modern day. But no, we've worked on upgrading the look and feel of our website so that it's easier to find all of our past episodes. So we haven't quite put all the episodes on the list yet, but when they're there, they'll be in a nice fancy little table so that you can just download them all one at a time instead of trawling back through all our blog posts to find them. So it's going to make it easier for us to stroke our own egos and easier for everyone else to listen to all of our tech geek talk.
Yeah, excellent. It looks really good. Thank you, John. You've done an excellent job. So folks out there watching, you can go and check it out. It's at atrandom.org.uk. And so it's all new and shiny and organised. So let us know what you think. And so now, Jackson.
Yes.
How's the electric in the medieval period?
Hey, we don't have many problems here. We don't have many problems here when it comes to electricity or
just
broadband.
when the hamster runs out of food, right?
That's why we had a baby. We've got a baby. She makes it go. She takes care of all that. But me and Vicky, we won't do it.
Is it me? You look like you've got just a little. It looks like a little brighter than normal. Is that because as we come into the spring period and the sun is higher in the sky, the solar panels are getting just a little bit more charge?
Yeah. I remember what you said last time. I didn't want to look like I was sort of like filming from a basement, so I put like a lamp just next to me here, just to sort of illuminate me dramatically on one side. But looking at the thing here, I don't look that much different, do I? No, it still looks pretty. It still looks pretty murky.
There is a definite improvement, though, Jack. I mean, you don't have the sort of lighting qualities that Rick and I have, but I can almost make out a person instead of just a figure.
With Rick, it's like the Almighty is looking at him from above.
Yeah, I've got amazing technology. I'm using two functional pieces of magical technology that we've been able to achieve here in the 21st century. One of them's electric. I've got some electric. And the other one actually is a piece of cardboard covered with the I'll give it a wash first, but covered with the wrappings from this Sunday's Sunday roast. You wrap the Sunday roast in kitchen foil, so I wrapped it around some cardboard, and I've got it standing here in front of the monitor, propped up by the keyboard, reflecting the lights from the ceiling onto my face. And look at the quality, No need to go and buy expensive, visual lamps and aids. Just check it out.
That is pretty cool. It works really well, especially with the black background. Like, I can picture you green screen somewhere. Like, maybe next week you could do the show from like Trinidad or something like that.
In front of the Hollywood sign.
Oh boy! Wow. Now that's going to take some doing. That is now. You see, most people, what they're going to do is they're going to go and get themselves something like Live Stream or an Apple Mac with Adobe Premiere or Final Cut Pro, and they're going to use the software systems to cut the black out of the background here and then fill in with a Trinidad and Tobago image on the background so I look like from an island. I'm not going to do it that way, guys. I'm going to go shopping on Saturday to Athena, and I'm going to buy a big A3 poster of a Trinidad island, and I'm going to sellotape it onto the curtain behind me.
I approve. See, I thought you were going to just say, I'm going to go to Trinidad.
Matte painting, no, I approve. Practical effects, Rick, all the way.
Absolutely, yeah. There's nothing short of professional here. In fact, there's nothing even close to professional.
So,
good
two
stuff.
Obligatory questions to get us kicked off.
Yeah.
What are you drinking?
Okay, yeah, right. What am I drinking? Right, so I've got a real blast from the past here. Now this takes me back to my youth. Let me hold this up and see whether you recognise this.
Yeah, Iron Maiden Pale Ale, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
yeah, that's right.
For Christmas.
The Trooper.
Had some of that in Bristol last year. Got myself a few bottles.
So this is when I was a lad at school. Iron Maiden brought this track out, which is called The Trooper, and this is actually the cover this is the cover art from the single, and the bloke who draws the art for Iron Maiden, Derek Riggs, that's his name. I was just about to say it always eludes me, but for once I've remembered it. So I had this, but let me I tell you what, guys, let me just see if I can go just a stage further. Let me take you back, okay, in the past to Iron Maiden, right? So if I just move this back here, and let's see whether you can. I wonder whether you can see this. Oh no, I'm going to have to muck about with the camera to get this to do this. But forgive me for a moment while I do this. But look at what that.
Ah, nice.
There's Eddie up on the wall.
So that up on the back wall there is the very same individual.
That is pretty damn cool.
Now, let me pull the cone back. So
what are you drinking, Jack?
And then I'm gonna do another trick, just because I'm in kind of funny, crazy mode at the moment. But as you can see that this is not a BBC studio. It is actually, part of my garden shed.
Had me fooled.
So that's me. Now for my next trick, the thing I've got one little last trick here before I move on to what somebody else is drinking. The problem I've got is that I haven't got a bottle opener down here in my ship. So what I'm going to do for my magic trick is I am going to open this bottle of Iron Maiden beer with this A4 piece of paper.
I hate to burst your bubble, Rick, but I saw this happen just 1 week ago on YouTube.
I've never seen this. I've never seen this done. This is completely new. So I believe it's going to be magic, Rick.
Okay, right. So whilst I prepare my magic bottle opener, and who else is drinking what? So you're on the. What are you on there, Jack?
This is fridge milkshake.
Has it got a shot in the bottom? Please tell me it's got a shot of vodka in the bottom.
It's got a shot of fridge milkshake.
And you're repeating it to Bernie.
God, that'd be bloody suicide for everybody in the world. It says full-on fudge brownie. It's not just it's not just chocolate. It's fudge brownie. It's full-on fudge brownie.
Of course it is, Jack. Of course it is.
Yeah, I feel equal parts guilty and wonderful as I drink it. So Rick's getting set for an operation.
Here we go. Right, so
you ready?
Rubbing up.
I'm getting set for this, okay, and then what I've got to do is I've got to get set for one more. Okay, so now here is my bottle opener. Now, you're going to have to trust me on this. Trust me on this one, because I have to basically hold it tight down here.
I feel like I should give a visual story for anyone who's listening back to this on the podcast. So Rick has taken the sheet of A4 paper and folded it many times until it's about, I don't know, 4 inches by an inch. So
now he's using a bottle opener just off screen. Oh yeah.
So he's folded this piece of paper probably about 8 times, I guess. 7 times. And now he's getting angry at the bottle, pushing the cap very hard with this piece of paper.
I shattered in his hands. Oh my god! There's blood everywhere. Oh my god! The humanity.
Oh, this works so well. I've broken the bottle opener. Right. But at least you can see that this really is a live demonstration. I'm going to have to go to bottle opener number 2.
So let me move on to question 2 then. Any cool geeky tech stuff in the last week? I'm building up to something I want to talk about, obviously, but I'll ask you guys first because I'm polite and British.
Cool... Go ahead, Jackson. I'm busy.
Any cool tech geek stuff? Let me see. I'm just trying to think. There was something in the news about Valve have suddenly gone back on that charging pods thing, haven't they?
Yeah, that was a crazy move when they decided they were going to start selling all the Steam mods, and then 3 days later, luckily, after the community disowned them. They just changed their mind, which I think is a pretty cool move, actually.
I did actually quite like the way they came back on, well, the way they acknowledged the mistake, and they called it a mistake. We obviously, and he didn't take it any further than that. They didn't say, "Oh yeah, we underestimated the passion that gamers have," like a backwards sort of insult at them. They didn't go in for any of that. I will give them credit for the way they responded to that, because you can't really say fairer than what they did.
No, we made a mistake, and now we've undone it. That was a very, very good approach, very sensible approach, especially for a big corporation who could just have done it anyway and said, well, you know what, even if we piss off 60% of them, 40% of them are still going to pay us.
Yeah.
So they could have taken that approach, but they didn't. So I think that was pretty good of them.
I will confess to curiosity at what might have happened. I mean, as to whether you might have got 2 or 3 really, really good projects out of it. Like a Falscar or a...
yeah, it would have been interesting to see. But Rick looks very, very happy. I'm guessing he's managed to open the bottle with a piece of paper.
So here is bottle opener number 2. Right, let me show you that first. And here is the top off the bottle. Okay, and it's all gone. Largely, it's gone according to plan. There was just had one small problem that I had to deal with here. I broke my little finger, but but it's worth it because there's the result.
And he saved a whole £2 on the bottle opener, so there we go.
Celebrate with me now as I pour the Iron Maiden Trooper Ale into my beer glass.
Your Trooper glass, yay! So I want to just I want to talk about one little tech thing before we move on to our app recommendations. But my friend Benjamin, he got himself an Apple Watch a week ago, and a little bit jealous, I've got to say. It's one of those things that new tech comes out and you go, it's first gen. It's going to get better in a year's time. I don't need to buy it first gen. And then it gets to release.
You never say that.
It's not even going to reach its full potential yet. Like it hasn't got apps and stuff on it. I can definitely wait until they're just available in stores in 3 or 4 months' time. And then
John, I've never heard you talk like that. I've never heard you say that.
No, you're right.
I still remember when the iPhone was coming out, and there was a knock at the door, and he comes rushing out of his room, and he's got his dressing gown. He's at the top of the stairs. Is that my iPhone? Is that my iPhone?
Yeah, you're right. I try. I try the best I can. There's shiny new tech. I actually added an Oculus Rift to a shopping basket the other day, and I didn't hit buy because the same thing that I've always tried to fight back all my life. It's like, I don't need it yet.
Yeah, but I want it.
But it's new and shiny, and I want to play with it. So now every morning I get up, I get my phone off the bedside table, and I put on my 2-year-old Nike Fuel Band, thinking, not an Apple Watch. So now I'm regretting it because there's like a month or 2 back order. But you can rest assured when they're available in Sweden, I will try my best to resist and probably buy it on day 1. But it looks pretty cool. I think the big thing for me is that I'm rubbish at answering my phone. And I think having a smartwatch which beeps and stuff when you get text messages, like I don't like to have my phone on loud because it makes a lot of racket with all the notifications from all sorts of rubbish nowadays. And if it's on silent, I just don't even notice when it vibrates. So yeah. I think a watch that buzzes when I get a message, and I can just look at my watch and decide whether it's worth my time. It sounds like a pretty good solution.
So how does that work then? If you do get a buzz on your watch and you look at it and it says, "Oh, you got a message from Jerry Rafferty or whatever," then you look at your you can answer it on the watch, or do you have to like get out the phone after that and do it from there?
So if it's a text message, you can hit reply on the watch, and then you can talk at the watch, and Siri will write your message down. Now, obviously, if you said, "Do you want to go to the pub at 7?" and I just wanted to say, "Yes, but let's make it 7:30," it would probably translate that fine. If you said, "Do you want to go to the pub at 7?" and I said, "No, let's go to the Raj and get a massive curry," they would probably not understand the word Raj or, the Gandhis. up at tower or something. You know what I mean? So it's fine for quick responses that are fairly basic English, but as soon as you say no, buy the GTX 970 because Evolve is awesome, it's just going to go, what the fuck are you saying? And then put random words on the screen. So for that conversation, I'd have to get my phone out. But Siri's is only going to get better, right? And I think that it's the actual notification itself that I'm interested in, not necessarily responding to it. So I don't have to worry about Becky sending me a message and then me not getting it until the next day because I didn't want to look at my phone.
I mean, let's face it, that's what texts are supposed to be for anyway, isn't it? They're not supposed to be for like great long conversations, even though that is what a lot of us have ended up using them for. But at their heart, texts are supposed to be like, yeah, I'll see you there at 7:30. Okay, no problem. Like just for a quick bit. I mean, but having said that, maybe you should be thinking about these things as to like what we actually use them for, as to like what they were intended. I mean, is that enough, like as a device on its own, or could there be capability further down the line for it to do more of what a phone does?
Well, so I mean, at the moment it runs, I guess, custom widgets almost, not really apps yet, but like widgets you might get on the front page of an Android device. It will run things like that, so you can push little scripts to it which run widgets. But I mean, eventually it's going to run apps, and then people can make it do whatever they want, you know. So maybe not this generation because the battery life on it suffers a bit, and obviously it's not that powerful because the whole thing is 40 millimeters across or whatever. But over time, that's only going to get better, right? So maybe in 2 years' time, it'll probably be running the sort of apps that your iPhone 1 ran, or maybe iPhone 2 or 3, you know. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as it runs custom apps, there'll be a million, right? A million apps, and there'll be something for everyone. You want to do like photo editing on your watch or something. Something crazy like that, you'll be able to do it. So I know that buying it now is a bit premature, but also, you know, I want to be one of the cool kids. So.
Want to be one of the cool kids.
You're not going to hold out for the inevitable Android watch?
There's been loads, right?
Oh, is there? Oh, I didn't know that.
No, there are loads.
All right, well, there we go. I'm definitely not one of the cool kids, as you can see.
No, there are loads of, I mean, Android and ones that communicate with Android watches, and Microsoft just brought one out recently too, called the Microsoft Band. But
okay.
But yeah, I think in 6 months to a year's time, we'll be doing app recommendations on stuff for the watches. That'll be you know that we've hit the future then.
We'll put them on a watch list.
I quite like that brand idea, Microsoft Band. That's pretty good. I like that.
It's like Activision's newest game, isn't it? Keyboard peripherals, and you gotta hit the keys in time with what's going on as the notes come up the screen or whatever.
So in between getting depressed about your mate buying an Apple Watch first and you not, because you didn't get one, just rub that one in a bit more, John. And what have you been looking at then to drown your sorrows in not having this Apple Watch?
I very nearly bought an Oculus Rift, like I said. The only reason I didn't was the fact that I don't have any games that would actually use it. And I would almost definitely buy one, and that would be Elite Dangerous. But I thought, do I ultimately want to spend £350 on one game? If there were like a little list of 5 or 10 games, I would consider spreading the cost over them. But at the moment, there's only really one that I desperately want to play with it. So
for the right game, and that tech, I'd think about it. If it was a game I was sufficiently passionate about, and I could strap a thing to my head and like play like what you were saying, I'd think about something like that. Like Rick and your iRacing.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect.
Yeah. Something that
the
you
perfect
play
sale case. You know, like you play iRacing a lot, you're not going to stop playing it. So this is just an add-on to what you're playing all the time, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I have to say, you know, as soon as a very high resolution Rift type device comes out, I will have one for iRacing. Absolutely, it is. It is the perfect solution for that game, you know, because the setting is you are sitting in a cockpit. So with Elite Dangerous, it is going to be just mind blowing. But are you talking about the Oculus Rift like a commercial product now, or you were talking about the SDK2?
The SDK2. So.
Yeah. So I suspect that it's going to suffer on Elite the same way that mine does on iRacing, which is the resolution just isn't. It really isn't high enough at the moment.
Yeah.
It's very good, but it's just not good enough.
And fun to play with, but it means you're going to have to buy another one in the year when it comes out, which is fine if you know that when you know you kind of know that's the case and you're still going to enjoy it. That's fine. But I think it's the sort of thing I'll buy, play with for a weekend, and just sit on my shelf. Until there's
sorry.
Until there's more stuff I can do with it and more games and things, I think it would just be a one weekend trick, and it's I could go away for £300 for the weekend.
Yeah, that's largely been my experience actually. In that, you know, I've used the Oculus for a few days on the iRacing, but ran into that problem of not being able to see, you know, the far field in the view, really, because of the resolution, and so moved back to the monitor, and it's just sitting around in a box, and all I'm, you know, probably going to do now is plug it into my laptops and use it as a bit of a novelty to let a few other people have a go at 3D racing, but it really isn't there that it's like high enough resolution for me to say, actually, yes, I really want to play iRacing in this. But it's very close, John. You know, the consumer model only needs to up the resolution by another, say, 33%, just a third better than it is now, and it would be good enough. So if they can solve that, it's good to go.
I imagine that some games will just be fine. You know what I mean? There must be some games that are closer and have less distance in them, and it probably works fine for those in its current iteration.
Yeah. Yeah, I tend to think so.
Cool. So should we crack on with our app recommendations?
Yeah. Okay. Let's go. What do you got, John?
Well, I have an app which I picked up on my iPad. So the other day, I was away from my usual computer, and I wanted to do a very quick bit of image editing, and I typed in online image editor and found that Autodesk have actually done one called Pixlr. Pixlr, and they've got, there's sort of three different incantations of this software, I guess. There's like one that just runs in a browser, and that's actually really good. It kind of runs a bit like a little cut down version of Photoshop, but it sits in the browser window, but it looks like a desktop application. You can go to File Open, and you can open a file off your drive. You can crop it, and you can resize it and do all this stuff, and then you save it on your hard drive again. And you're done. You close your browser. So that was really useful for what I wanted to do. And if you're into sort of doing website stuff and you just want to crop a few images before you upload them, really useful for that because you can do it anywhere. And then I found they've got a desktop version and an iPad version. Now, fortunately, unfortunately, depending on your point of view, the desktop version was a bit rubbish because it was more like the app than the website. The app, on the other hand, is obviously quite reasonably simple because it's just an app, but quite powerful. So you can kind of do a lot of the same things you would do in something like Paint.net, I guess. You know, it's more than Paint, but not as much as Photoshop. But somewhere in the middle, and you can open up a photo of your device, and you can do all sorts of crazy stuff. Like you can crop, rotate, and do all the basic stuff. But you can also do smoothing and sharpening. And there's like a heal brush, so you can say, this bit of the picture's got an artifact in that I don't want, so you can kind of heal it away, and red eye reduction and things. So it's just, you know, it's very simple. There's like 5 buttons at the bottom. You tap on the button, adjustments, and then you can tap on what you want to do, blur, and then you tap on the sort of bar for how much you want to blur it, and then you go through a few of these effects, and you can do all the usual sort of rubbish effects that you get on these things. I say rubbish, people love them. But it's like, oh, I can make it look like a vintage photo and stuff. I think those things are like the pro version, so you pay £1. Like the free one lets you crop and resize, and then the pro version lets you apply all these filters to make it look fancy. But I don't think it's very expensive. And that's it, really. But it's really easy to use. Probably one of the best I've seen. It's just lots of square boxes. You tap one adjustment, and there's lots of options, which is more than I see on most of these sort of apps. And it runs really smooth. It's efficient and quick. And yeah, not very much more to say about an image editor, but it's good, and it's free for all the basic stuff like cropping and things, and it's nice. So that's
Pics, Pixlr, Pixlr.
Yeah,
and we have some
definitely
links and
available for
things
iOS. It's probably available for Android too. Yeah, it is definitely available for Android as well. So, so like I say, it's a free one just for doing the basic stuff, and then you can buy a pack to do more fancy stuff, I think. So,
I think having it nice and simple really appeals. I think that very often, the things that we want to do to our images tend to be simple, straightforward things. Really, you don't tend to want to get too fancy, and just having those things available are likely to make the app popular with people who aren't, Photoshop aficionados, so to speak.
You want to do it on the fly. Well, it's like you take a picture and of like when you're out or something, and you just want to crop off the grommet on the side before you like forget about put it up to Facebook or whatever, don't you?
Yeah, you just want to pre-edit it before you post it on social media. Really, that's what you nearly always want to do, isn't it? So, or if I want to send you a picture of some random thing that's happening in Stockholm,
Yeah, exactly. And there may be any kind of reason as to why you need to adjust it, like make it less, well, make it look more sunny, or change the color temperature on it, or whatever. Just silly little stuff like that you you want that simple. Yeah, anything more than that is just not going to be redundant on a phone app.
Yeah, it's you want to be able to just quickly copy and paste some little humanoid reptilian figures in the back of your picture in the streets, before you post it up to social media with some kind of UFO aliens have landed or something.
Oh, Rick, you won't have to paste them in; they're there if you look for them.
Oh, right, okay.
Take another look.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, so I've been looking at an app this week because I've been setting something up, and we're going to come to that shortly about what it is. But the app I've been looking at, which I've been really impressed with, is an app called Dekko, Dekko. And Dekko's basically just a mail. It's an email application. But what I really like about it is actually the design and style of it. It's a really beautiful looking app. It's been done I think really, really well, and there's some links in the show notes, and you can see the imagery there of the app running on the phone, and I just really like the look of it. I really like the feel of it. It works really, really well. It is still early days for this app, which will kind of make more sense of when we get into the main segment in a minute. But we've been using it, been able to connect up to the mail server and do all of the stuff, and it works with just the kind of simple, straightforward, standard features that you want for an email client on your mobile device. And as I say, the impactful thing about it is it's really gorgeous to look at. So that's Dekko, and it's and the links in the show notes will take you to the App Store for it and show you more about it.
Cool.
No, it's a nice looking thing, isn't it? I'm just looking at the screenshots here. Yeah, it's got it's got that clean look without looking empty and vacuous, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, it's got nice thick. I mean, to be fair, Google's email client has gone a bit more. Has gone a bit more that way now. I mean, as we were saying before, they rejig it all the time. But it's good to see just a bit more colour and vibrancy, a bit more use of that kind of thing coming back in, so we can get I think there's room for a nice medium when it comes to clean design, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Not too Google.
Yeah. Not too much of what Google used to be. I think Google have improved in like how Spartan they go for. But now they got another issue in my eyes. But that's another story anyway. But because this stuff here is very. I mean, I think what I really like is the Ubuntu font. I've got quite a like it. I don't know if it's what its name is, which is shameful for me. I know. But
it's flipping in your age, you know.
Just another font to learn. But no, I do quite like the look of it. Yeah, it's a nice one.
And I guess that's for not Android or iOS, but a different type of phone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we'll talk about that in a minute. You know.
Yeah. Let's do that. But first up, let's see what Jackson's got. Bada boom! There's the segue.
Well, what I've got, it's basically a website that lets you upload videos and you can like share them with other people. Basically, it's something called YouTube. Yeah, I don't know if no, I'm not going to do that any. I'm not going to ring that for any more than it's worth. I'm just going to stop it like that. Basically, do you remember a couple of weeks ago where I did? It was a website called the SCP Foundation. Which
all those weird videos and stories.
Warehouse 13, but with like more horror. Basically, somebody's made a game of it in their own like 3D engine, and considering this is just like a one-man for free project, it's really pretty impressive. I mean, the graphics aren't like AAA or anything, but it's still very, very atmospheric. That's where he's put all the work into. Basically, you played a part of one of the test subjects that you're always reading about in those stories. And you're told by guards to go into the cell of this SCP-173, I think it is. And basically, this thing is like a weird-looking statue with a big head that you have to keep your eyes on at all times, otherwise it will move and break your neck.
Like Doctor Who, yeah.
Like Doctor Who. The weird thing is, both stories were made around the same time, so they couldn't really have copied each other. The people looked into this extensively. But yeah, and you go in, and then the lights fail, and there's a containment breach. Suddenly, the two guys with you are dead, and you have to like walk out of all the lab with all these other like things that have escaped. And it is incredibly atmospheric. It really puts you, because you've read all the if you've read all the things before, you start to think, oh god, yeah, I'm actually in a lot of trouble, because you got that context going. I mean, speaking from my own experience, it comes with a blinking mechanic as well. I should mention, as the meter runs out, then you have to blink. It forcibly blinks, or you can blink manually. But I didn't run into the creature again. I was closing all the doors behind me just in case, and I ended up like going through a tunnel. And there was some lizard-looking thing coming down a corridor at me, and I thought, oh yeah, I'm not having any of that, because I was well into the atmosphere of it by that point. So I jumped down a lift shaft and I killed myself.
Nice.
So that was my experience so far with SCP Containment Breach. I don't think I did very well.
Is it a PC game or?
Is it what? Sorry.
PC game, sorry, or?
Yeah, PC game. The only issue I've found with it is apparently on certain NVIDIA GPUs, there's a problem in full screen with like the on-screen text. It flashes for some reason. It's a really irritating bug in what is otherwise a really impressive piece of work. But you can still play it in like windowed mode and have it in like a full-size window, if you know what I mean. If that becomes a problem, but well worth checking out, because it's absolutely free, and it's just very, very atmospheric piece of work.
Cool. Sounds good. I might check that out, having read a bunch of those SCP stories. So
I'll definitely watch this trailer. There's a video trailer straight there on the website, which gives you a kind of game trailer as to what's going on.
It gives you a nice bit of the flavour. He's actually done another smaller game which is based on another one of the stories, which involves you going down an endless staircase, and then it's a very atmospheric. You hear like rushing wind, and you know any minute something's going to like come jumping out at you. It's like those sort of those scare videos, you know what I mean, where like you'll be looking for something, and suddenly it'll put a big screaming face up on the screen in front of you.
Yeah, but you're just sort of waiting for it, so you're like, oh, when's it going to happen?
The tension, exactly. It's a game of tension. Yeah, that's right. So you try not to get too involved. You think, no, I'm detached, so it's not gonna bother me. It's that kind of thing.
I'll give it a shot. Sounds good.
Nice one. Well done, Jack. That's good. That looks really good.
Cool. So let's move on to the star of the show, I guess.
The star of the show. Okay, so bada boom, segue. Right. Here it is. Let me pull this little puppy into the light. I don't know whether it's probably, I don't know, is that the wrong way round on my screen but the right way round on yours? Can you read that?
That's right, yeah.
It is
Yeah,
good for me. Aquarius E45.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah. So this is it. So I'll try and hold this in the camera view so you can kind of see, and we'll do a little bit of an unboxing magic here, of course. So basically, this is the box that it comes in, and you've got and it's kind of laid out and styled here. And this is the latest and the first Ubuntu phone. So I'll take it out of the box. I won't do it like one of these cheesy unboxing things with, oh, guess what, you get a cable and an instruction set. Look, guys, you get a box, right, and there's some stuff in it.
The important thing is that.
But let's get straight onto to the tools in the box, because when a plain packaged box arrives on your doorstep, the first thing you want to do is get the tools out, isn't it? Really. So this is it. You can see here it's quite a nice thin little device made by BQ, and it kind of just looks nice and slick and smooth. What's interesting about it, which kind of I'd never come across before, is here on the side. Maybe if I can get the lighting right, you might be. I'm sure I do have the lighting right a second. But here on the side, there, if you look closely, you can see it actually got slots for 2 SIM cards. So this can take 2 separate network SIM cards, and I think it can connect to both networks at the same time and do kind of magic stuff with it.
I've heard of phones like that, but they're never the ones I would buy. Like they're always some weird Chinese cheap one because its selling feature is 2 SIMs. But that'd be really useful for me living in Stockholm, coming from the UK.
It would actually, yeah, because I know, when I was looking up your, I sent you a text earlier. I have no idea whether you got it because I had to choose one of the numbers and send it at random and hope for the best.
At random.
I sent it to the UK number. But let's see whether I can get this up to the screen here, and then I can switch this on and show you a little bit. We'll just take a little bit of a drive around for this thing. So basically, that's me switching it on here now. So this is the interface that you basically see when you first arrive, and then you just touch it like this.
Nice kind of traditional Ubuntu background and almost Android-like icons at the top.
Oh yeah, I like those. The your notification icons at the top.
People are gonna know where they are with that, aren't they? There's no surprises,
No, sure.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. And the whole kind of there are and the other thing to note, there's no buttons on this at all apart from just one button on the side here that just brings it to life. Other than that, everything is done off of the screen. So if I sweep that across, then you get your passcode unlock, and then once you first log in, you get this what is called it's a bit hard to get the lighting right on this really, what is called a today scope, and so now these scopes are kind of it's an aggregation of information really. So on this scope here, I've got the date, I've got some information about the weather, and then I've got my kind of events and new things that are coming up, any kind of key messages and information that's been sent in to me, and you can just kind of scroll up through here, and it just kind of aggregates information from different apps and different information sources. And there's a whole ecosystem around these scopes on the Ubuntu phone.
Yeah, it look a little bit like a cross between Microsoft Tiles and widgets, kind of that thing.
Like
Android widgets,
but
Microsoft Tiles.
Yeah, I mean it's sort of. I mean I think I think the key word is this idea of aggregating. So you get this well, you can't see the pictures here at the moment, but this is pulling news from different news sources, and there'll be a nearby scope that will drag in I don't know, restaurants and petrol stations and theatres and that kind of stuff, and it'll kind of So, for example, there's a scope about live music and entertainment that's in today, and when I click on there, it started showing me, hey, look, these guys are playing at Exeter Phoenix, and this is happening, and all based upon the GPS location, and kind of gathering that information off the web and bringing it into this today scope and showing me kind of what's happening today, or the nearby scope, or whatever it might be, that you kind of get. If I angle that like that, actually, you can see it a little bit easier there.
Yeah.
When the screen had dimmed a little bit.
Yeah, that was it when the brightness came back on.
So the next thing that is really cool about it, though, is the way you kind of manage everything. So basically, everything is about touching the interface. So if I start to draw down from the top here, what this brings up is the whole settings menu, and I can get from any screen, as I kind of scroll across the top here, I can go through the various settings that are on here. Let me see whether I can. So and basically in grey here are these like different setting zones that show, like what mode I'm in at the moment, how much battery I've got left, what messages and information I've had, and so on and so forth. And then to get rid of that, I simply just scroll that back up off the top of the screen.
Nice. So it kind of comes down like a panel over everything else, like a slide over panel with all your options on.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I gave this to my wife without setting it up, just to see what the experience would be, without any tuition at all. And when you buy this phone from BQ, it actually takes you through a little UI experience that shows you how to use the interface before you actually finish purchasing your order. Now, I bought the phone, so I didn't show that to my wife at all. I just gave her this phone and said, here's your new phone. Get on with it. And
I don't want to.
10 minutes later, she says to me, she said, can you set my email up on this? I said, have you got it running? Oh yeah, she says, yeah, no. I said, well, how was it difficult? She said, no. She said, it's really easy, and she said, and it gives you, it's got help, So I was pretty impressed with that. Let me show you the next feature in here. Is that so? And this I really like. Okay, so anybody who's kind of used to Ubuntu, look at this. Here's your sideline menu. And this, you do exactly the same as you would on your Ubuntu desktop. You pin all the apps that you want there on the side, and then click on them, and it just takes you straight into the app. So if you want your contacts or that kind of stuff, back to the Today scope, all of that is in there. At the bottom of the screen, you've also got this sweep up function. So here, now this is revealing like the apps that I've got installed and access to the App Store. And that'll be contextual depending on what app you've got open at the time. So again, it's just this kind of using the finger to just kind of get access to whatever it is you want to do. The other thing that you can see here that I think is really neat is the way that you can kind of see what apps you've got open. So this is kind of just like a, sort of spreading concertina. And if I want to close one of those, like say I want to just close the phone, I just pick it up and just drift it off the top of the screen. I maybe want to see the maps, and I'll pull that in, and away we go.
Very,
so the whole
very Android lollipop. But that's a very familiar experience people are going to understand. So
yeah, and it is it's lovely. It really is. I have to give them kudos for the way that it works and it operates. It's a smashing little device, and not particularly expensive at all. This is about 150 or 100, about 160 euros or something like that at BQ.com.
Not bad.
That is actually for a phone. That's pretty good.
It makes it quite a viable alternative, doesn't it?
I don't know if it's cheaper because it's like a launch device and they're just trying to get it out there, but that is a really good price for a modern phone with all the mod cons,
Yeah, and this has got, this has got a 32 gigabyte card in it and 8 gigs of RAM on the phone itself, which is not, it's honest. That's honest.
But I mean, 8 gig's fine nowadays because you can buy a 64 gig micro SD card for, 30 quid or something, can't you? So if you're just using it as a phone, 8 gig's fine. If you're using it for all the other stuff, you're going to want to get something in that slot. But that's not too bad, you know?
So, well, I put a 32 gig card in it because I wanted to obviously allow my wife to take pictures. She takes lots of pictures and videos and things like this of the kids and stuff like that. So she wanted to be able to do all of that.
Yeah.
And obviously you can hook into your Facebook and your Twitter and your Google and things like that. But we here we use OwnCloud. We've got OwnCloud set up here on a server at home. For our calendar and our contacts and our pictures and everything else, and I was able to get OwnCloud set up and synced on this. In fairness, there isn't an app for doing it for OwnCloud right now, but the wonderful thing about this being a Linux device is that, of course, its underlying is a Linux operating system. So it was relatively, first of all, it was easy to go and find loads of other people who had been trying to do other things on the device. So I found a simple set of Ubuntu, kind of typical Ubuntu instructions for how to get a terminal up on this, open a terminal, and then and get the calendar sync going and this, that, and the other. So obviously, if you are non-technical and you want to use OwnCloud, then that may be not such a good thing. But for somebody like me, that was kind of fine. I didn't have any issue about that at all.
So, can I ask you some questions? Get to some nitty gritty.
The hard
yeah,
question.
Sure.
So it's clearly running. You say like a full Linux stack underneath everything.
Well, I think I mean whether this is running Ubuntu 14.10.
Cool.
It's probably running the I suspect Snappy Core, kind of the lighter weight core Ubuntu distro, so it won't have everything in it, but there's quite a lot of standard utilities there, apt utils and things like this, and the usual things that you would see on a Linux system.
So can you sorry, go on.
Go on. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, you say you can fire up a terminal. Could you, obviously it's relevant only for things that have ARM builds available, but could you apt-get something? Say for whatever random reason I wanted to install Apache on my phone so that I could take it to someone's office and show them a small website in PHP.
So now, I suspect the answer is you could probably install that, but the app armor instance inside of the operating system would probably block the network access or cause you some kind of network problems. So you'd have some security issues that you'd need to deal with to tackle that. But do you know what? Let's just try. I'm just opening up the terminal now. So let's just try apt cache search and see what it offers us. So I just bring the keyboard up and just give it apt. One moment. Fat fingers. Apt cache search.
Because it sounds like, for someone like us who are dev geeks, it sounds like a pretty cool compromise that you can use it as a regular phone, got your scopes, make phone calls, do all the stuff without having to get into any geek stuff. But if you did want to do something on it a little bit geeky, just because you're on a 2-hour train journey or something, it sounds pretty cool that you can, you know?
Yeah. Let's try text. Okay, so I've just done apt cache search text because I couldn't think of anything else. What it's come back with is, as you would expect, it's come back with text live, LuTeX, MetaPost, text live music, Ubuntu keyboard, WDiff, X264, Zapier, Xdelta, XMLR PC API utils for C++.
This would be really interesting. Could you do a search for LaTeX, LaTeX? That is the sort of thing that when I was at uni, I would have loved to have been able to compile LaTeX on the go.
LaTeX.
Yeah. So it's like a markup language used for making scientific documents. And,
yeah, okay. So you've got XML to any converter, TiLaTeX, TextPower, TextLive Science, TextLive Publishers. There's a whole bunch of TextLive stuff here.
Yeah, so it's like almost a compiler. You know, you take a bunch of text script and it spits out PDF or something. But
okay.
It sounds like if all those packages are there, it sounds like LaTeX is available, which is, I mean, to me now it's not that useful, but when I was at uni, like, it would have been super useful to be able to compile that on the go, because sometimes someone suggests a little edit and you're like, oh, I can't edit it now, I've got to get back to my machine, my Linux machine.
Yeah. So absolutely. So there's all of that, and then you've got a whole bunch of Python 3 libraries. You've got Twisted Law, Pigments, Ginger 2, DocUtils, Python Cheetah, the LaTeX Styler. There's tons of stuff. It's wow,
Python
pretty
Cheetah.
cool.
So we
Who's that one?
Brad Pitt, of course.
Brad Pitt, is it?
Yeah. But we sorry to bombard you with questions, but it's quite a cool piece of tech that, you know, I might have to resist buying as well. But,
oh man, look at this. Let me put this up just for your viewing pleasure. There is top.
that is top work. That is awesome.
That I got to say, you know, I don't care about the phone. I just love the fact that I've got an X terminal running on this device that runs top and gives me LaTeX tools and apt. Do you know what I mean? I don't need anything else. You throw all the gimme stuff away. Forget it. I wonder whether I can install Mutt on this. App search Mutt or Pine. Let's try that.
We talked about a year ago about this sort of device on one of our shows, and it's kind of cool to see that it's delivered what they promised a year ago. But we talked about the idea of having a dock, or maybe putting this sort of device into a monitor and a keyboard. Yep. Do you know if that's possible? Do you know if that's on the cards?
Yes, it is, absolutely. This is what Ubuntu call Convergence, and this is the thing that's had me excited about what Ubuntu are doing since they did the first work on the Motorola Atrix, which was the first sort of proof of concept. And in that context, the Motorola Atrix was actually a working, functional implementation. So you had the device, Atrix phone, giving you this kind of interface, not as polished as it is on the Ubuntu phone today. You could carry around with you the Atrix laptop, plug the phone into the back of the laptop, and now you've got your portable laptop device. Then take it to your desk at work, plug it into the desk at work, connect it to your monitor, and up would come a full Ubuntu desktop with that kind of, with the sidebar, all the icons on the side, and if your phone received text messages, it would put them on your desktop, and then you could send them from the desktop. And that was working, absolutely working.
That is awesome.
What I have seen, I know the developers are working on Convergence, and when we get talking about the docs, developer docs, and how do you get into the deeper side of this in a bit, which is fascinating, you'll see that that's kind of the route that they're going, is the Convergence idea, where you know, in the not too distant future, I deeply suspect there will be probably commercial devices that do that very thing. There are videos on YouTube where I've seen a Nexus 4 device now doing exactly what I just described, where they open up LibreOffice on the Nexus 4, open up a spreadsheet, then plug it into a HDMI connection to a monitor, and the thing rescales the whole screen. It connects to the mouse, and now you can drive the spreadsheet with the mouse, and then you disconnect it from the monitor, and it goes back and scales, and you can drive it with your finger.
Because I think so, that's one of the real edges that Ubuntu have. I mean, like, neither Android or iOS are going to offer anything like that. I mean, they will offer, like, the similar thing they will offer is very good integration with another system, which is different. You know, like, it is very cool that I can walk into my house with my iPhone, and only my Swedish iPhone, unfortunately. It seems like you can't sync to, but I get a text message, it pops up on my computer, I can answer it, I can call you from my computer, and it all goes through my phone. That's pretty cool, but I need to have my Mac laptop. I think the idea that, I would pay more for the phone, because obviously that's only got 8 gigs of storage. I'd pay maybe £250, £300 for something with 32 gigs of storage, maybe a bit more power in the graphics department. I don't know what's in that, but I suspect that at that price, it's probably phone level graphics. Maybe a bit more power would be cool. But I could see paying £250, £300 for something where if I get to work one day and my computer's broken, I'm like, oh man, I can plug in my keyboard and my mouse and my monitor and just do something. Obviously I can't do full-on development on an ARM device, neither would I expect to, but I can check my email, I can do all the web browsing, I can write documents, I can do all the stuff that most normal people would do in an office, like outside of a really geeky job where you're just writing documents and keeping up people up to date in emails, spreadsheets, and maybe using even OpenOffice's equivalent to Excel and things, and you could do all of that just from your phone. I think that's a pretty cool place,
Yeah, absolutely, that's right, and that's kind of where it's going. So you're going to be really excited with what I'm going to tell you next, then. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about this phone, right? And I'll tell you a story in a moment. You know how I love to tell stories, but I have been genuinely, straight up, so absolutely, just dustingly impressed with this phone that I have bought 4 of them. So my wife was swanning round at the bank, swanking it off to her friends, going, "Oh, have you got a new phone?" And she's going, "Yeah, here's my new phone," and it's an Ubuntu phone, and these people are going, "What?" And then she's showing them, and they're going, "Oh, wow, that's really cool," and of course she's the coolest chick in the bank, because everybody's going, "What's this Ubuntu phone?" And she's going, "Oh, it's this new thing," and everybody's going, "No way!" Was it expensive? They're saying. And I've bought 2 for my daughters, 1 each for my daughters, right? And now I've bought 4 of these phones, but I've got 3. How so, you ask? Go on, Jack, ask me. Ask me the question. How so, Rick?
Just how would that come to be, Rick?
How so, Rick? How so?
Well, when these were first available, they were only available in flash sales. So you had to get up early in the morning and get on the net to get one. And I managed to get in that 10-minute window at 8 o'clock in the morning to get one ordered. Now we were going on holiday, so I got my phone ordered, and I was absolutely over the moon. Right? I got the transaction, I couldn't believe it. I thought, wow, it's great. They're going to send me this thing. Anyway, they said it was going to be they were going to give me a shipping date, so that was fine. So we went away on holiday, and I wasn't expecting the phone to turn up until after. And came back home, and there was a ticket through the door. Those smart, handy people at UPS, United Parcels, had delivered my phone, and they'd stuffed this scrumpled ticket through the door, and scrawled on the ticket was "in green bin," and I thought, wow, okay, right. So that was the ticket with nothing else on it, just "in green bin." So I thought, oh, great, my new Ubuntu phone. Let me go and see where it is. So I go into the green bins, which are empty, and I thought, oh, that's a bit funny. I can't. So I rooted around in the bottom. There was just a few pieces of paper in the bottom, and I thought, no, it's a bit. I'm looking for a reasonably sized box, it's definitely not in here. So I went back anyway, and I thought to myself, so I looked on, so then I managed to track down the parcel, and the delivery was Tuesday, so they delivered on the Tuesday. We were away on holiday until the Saturday, and the bin men come on the Thursday. So it's got to be the shortest life cycle of any Ubuntu phone, because it went straight from the factory, didn't even come out of the packet, straight into the recycling centre, was promptly broken up, and now there are probably the metal bits are in Newbury's scrapyard, and the cardboard is probably in the incinerator and so forth. I never saw the likes of it. So
that is horrific.
But let me tell you about the people at BQ. And we're not sponsored for this at all, right? I'm just telling you straight up as it was. I was absolutely doing my nut. I was so flipped out by the whole thing that I had to give my wife's emails for it and walk away before I went and burned down a UPS delivery workstation or something. So she got in touch with the people at BQ, and this young man emailed her back and just said, "Don't worry about a thing, right? Give me your don't worry about a thing at all. I've got the tracking number. I'll sort it." And so there was no further ado, no nothing. We didn't hear anything else from UPS apart from we got one call from the UPS man who phoned up to tell my wife that they delivered it. And she said,
we left it in the bin again.
Delivered it in the
Did anybody sign for it? Do you have a signature for it? No, we don't. We delivered it, and he said, and we delivered it and left it in your mailbox. Wow. So my wife said, well, they have mailboxes in America.
Yeah.
The big green bins with the wheels on. That's the rubbish bins. They're not mailboxes.
Yeah. The green bins are bins.
Exactly. So, without further ado, BQ said, "No problem. We'll ship you another one. It's going out on Friday." And sure enough, it turned up on the Tuesday. And so after that, I got this phone, which I got out of the box, and we opened it up. I gave it to my wife, as I told you earlier on. We played with it for a bit, and I just thought, this thing is just absolutely magic, and it's the perfect device for my kids because it's not got all sorts of stuff all over the place. I've got some semblance of control over what it does. So I ordered another 2, and so that gave me the 3 phones that we've got, and it's great, really, really good.
So are you going to get one? Sorry.
Yeah, I am now. But of course, you see, John, like you, I need something with a bit more juice. So I've held on a minute because the next Ubuntu phone that's coming out, and it's going to be available, I don't know, maybe in the next 6 weeks, I would think, is an MX4 made by a company called Meizu, and this has got HD graphics with a more powerful graphics engine in it. It's an 8-core beast with 32 gigs of RAM on board.
Nice.
And and it's screaming, and so clearly a man of my caliber deserves 1 or 2 of those, maybe.
I'm looking at it now, yeah. So internal storage between 16 and 64, quad core 2.2 gig plus quad core 1.7 gig. Interesting. Oh, that's a Meizu MX4 that was released in September. So I guess this was like the Android version, but the same hardware is going to power the Ubuntu one. And then
similar. Although I think that
a beast of a graphics card. That is, well, onboard graphics chip. That's pretty awesome.
You just know that Rick is going to start answering phone calls, making phone calls with the terminal. And he'll say, "Oh, it's like
not only that, Jack, but I'm going to answer those phone calls with the terminal, and I'm going to reply in Morse code."
You're going to start doing the AtRandom shows via Morse, via your phone. It'll just be like a picture of like HAL 9000 up on screen. Just give us a
Surely, Rick. Surely there is a challenge to be laid down there. Surely you'll be able to do. Do you reckon the Chrome stuff will work on ARM, like Google Talk?
Well, I guess if we can get the only downside is whether we can get the sources for Google Talk to compile them, because obviously we get pre-compiled debs, which are x86. So what we'd need the source for Google Talk, but then I deeply suspect that if it compile it and put it in the repositories, apt get it, job done. You
could use it for some some business meetings or something and save. You don't want it to break on something really important like an AtRandom, but you could try it on some multi-million-pound business deals and see if it works, and then let us know.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the end of the day, if that happened to go tits up, well, what the hell?
But an AtRandom, you would never want that to go tits up.
No, no, we definitely we like control. We like sequence and order in our at random shows, don't we? We're organised and structured. Nothing left to chance.
That looks pretty cool, actually. I'm just looking at the Ubuntu edition now, and it looks pretty good. Okay, the review still says it's a bit buggy, and lack of apps, the usual.
Yeah, I mean, that's the, of course, the lack of apps. Well, of course it's got a lack of apps because, well, there's not a big developer community developing on it at the moment. But this is something I've been looking at already, and looking at the development paradigm and how I get involved in that, how I can get involved with doing some bits and pieces. And I'd been looking almost straight away at taking my Magnitude, my little Magna Player app, and seeing whether I could port that over to Ubuntu phone, because that would be well. I don't care about anybody else, but I want it. That'd be really just a job for me, So, having gone through all the documentation on Ubuntu.com, which I am really, really impressed with. They have got a full gamut of design docs with brand guides, graphics construction guides, all of the color palettes, all of the font details, all of the grid layouts, responsive design strategies, and everything else that you need to be thinking about. And it's really well put together in a really understandable and easy to follow way. The design docs, be great to get Jackson's take on them, maybe, with him, being design orientated, and see what you think of the kind of the color schemes and stuff like that. The developer docs are really well supported as well. I talked about this kind of idea of scopes, and where there are three zones that you can kind of get into Ubuntu app development. So you can begin with scopes, which are really they're really about leveraging open data standards. So anything that's got a REST API on the back of it, you can write a scope for in fairly simple. I mean, it's almost cut and paste with the existing scopes that are there, change a few things around, and hey presto, you've got a scope feed pulling data in. There's a nice and really simple, easy way to start. Then next, you've got HTML5 apps where you're using your web-based skills, JavaScript and HTML5 markup, to create either web-based apps, which is more or less like either a re-rendering of an existing website, or browser-based applications, games and things like this that you can write using that kind of markup language, HTML5 stuff that people are really used to. Or for folks that want to get a bit deeper into it, like yourself, John, then you've got all the QML, Qt stuff, C++, and all of those tools are available to you, so you can kind of dig in as deeply or as you like. And I think that's really going to appeal to different skill sets. I'm going to draw developers, because there's always a path where you can find some of your existing skills that you've got and deploy them to create an app for the Ubuntu platform.
Even
the final bit
is nicely split, right, between QML and C++. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yes, it is. That's right. Yeah, and I'll let you lead back to that in 1 second. And the final thing is that the apps that you develop in the SDK to run on the phone will run on the desktop. But
I guess it all boils down to two, I'm going to say, problems. One, people are always going to develop for iOS and Android first. That's the problem that Microsoft are having with Windows, because of numbers, right? Regardless of how good a platform it is, people are always going to develop for the one which there are 150 million of, as opposed to the maybe 100,000 Ubuntu phones now. I don't know. It will go up, obviously, because it's brand new, but that's the fact at the moment, is that if you're a company picking where you're going to invest your money, you're going to go for the bigger market. The other thing, I think I really like the desktop, the fact you can co-develop for the phone and the desktop, because it kind of minimizes your effort. You don't have to make a desktop app and then another phone app using a completely different API, and that's really cool. What I guess Ubuntu and Linux always comes back to is can people make money out of it? Or are people going to expect them to be free?
Yeah, so I think that, so first of all, I think yes, you can make money out of it. Now, I might stand to be corrected on this, but the last time I looked, you do have an option on the Ubuntu App Store to give your software away for free, to make it freely available, and so free apps are perfectly accepted and in many cases the norm. And then there is a paid-for app paradigm, and I think the minimum that you can charge for any charged-for app is $2.49.
Yeah.
And I like that. I think that's the right way to go. I think that the way to do this is to encourage people to write decent apps, good quality apps, to develop them and support them, and then to charge appropriately for doing that. You know, and so long, and I think that Ubuntu and Canonical really have got to stick to that, and not allow, you know, the app price to go below that $2.49, and to push and promote people to charge fairly and decently for their apps. And I think that then the answer is, yeah, absolutely, I'm convinced you can make money out of it.
Cool. Be really interesting, especially when this mobile desktop not continuation, you call it something else.
Convergence
comes, because I think that will be a truly unique feature for the Ubuntu phone. I mean, at the moment it's cool and it's shiny and glossy, and the fact it's running on Linux is unique, but I don't know if many people would really get the use out of that, apart from the core geek crowd. Like us, like, yes, we can run the terminal, but I don't think my mum's going to want to run the terminal on her phone. But plugging it into a monitor when you get somewhere, I can actually see that being something that other people who aren't geeks would want to use, maybe. Teachers might want to walk into their classroom, whatever classroom that is, and plug their phone into their whiteboard, interactive whiteboard, and just use it. No logging into the specific computer in the room. People going to conferences, I can see the value similarly there. Like when you turn up to a conference to give a talk and you plug your USB stick into a laptop and then it doesn't work, and you're like, oh, they've got PowerPoint 2015 and my thing was made in PowerPoint 2012, and then all the animations break. There's just something nice about walking up, plugging your phone into a screen or a projector, and it works because you've run it a million times on your phone. So
because we should be there by now. If you could have enough people doing that, for other people to say, oh, what's that you've done there? Like, I've never seen that before on another phone, and yet it's something I would use. I mean, that's the trick, isn't it? Finding the one thing that everybody wants, but nobody else does it. I know it's easier said than done, but that could be it. What you're talking about there.
Yeah, and I think that's, like, this is going to sound worse than it's intended to, but maybe for one of the first times, Linux has a consumer edge over other products. Like, it's got a very good professional edge and things like that, but it doesn't, like, it's never had something which the general masses would go, that's cool. And I think this is something where people who aren't technical don't need servers or uptime or terminals or this, that, the other, can actually go, yeah, I can see the value in that. I can get home and plug it into my screen, plug it into my TV, and I can play the video files on the SD card, not through some weird Apple TV or through some weird protocol. It's literally just plug the USB port into my phone.
That should be it. That should be it. No, they've got Chromecast doing it as well, but even then, that's not quite there, is it?
Yeah, you've got to go through something first, right?
Yeah. You need the right player, you need the right connector at the other end. Yeah, if you just had to think, what you want is like an iPod dock, isn't it? I'll just put my put my phone into the speakers there, push play, and we're away. That is what you want.
But with your whole desktop experience, that would be super cool.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny having talked about it so long ago. Like we were talking about this very thing, and now it's coming round to the point where the technology wasn't quite there before, was it? I remember us saying about all the limitations of the phone and that just how much power you could really squeeze out of it. But it looks more and more likely now.
And phones now, 2 gigahertz quad core, 2 gigs of RAM. Okay, only 32 gigs of storage, maybe, which is one of the limiting factors. But to be fair, it's not really much different to a Chromebook, and people seem to be using those without feeling like they're missing anything on terms of power. But again, I guess it comes down to 90% of daily usage is internet, Word, email, browser, Skype maybe, like all things you can run on Ubuntu, all things that will run on the sort of hardware you can get in a reasonably priced phone, and just to be able to walk up to a sort of monitor and plug it in and have a Skype chat with someone, things like that. So, yeah, that's cool, So yeah, it's quite exciting for Ubuntu to have a good consumer edge, I think, going forward.
As far as design goes, I mean, Rick was mentioning design early on. I mean, they've got a pretty consistent. Ubuntu does have a pretty consistent approach to design, from what I can see. And I've got to say, I've always been a really big fan of Ubuntu's design. It's a perfect example of how you can make a UI look simple without looking dull. Like they're clearly in love with the. It gives the impression of like the people making it sort of like thinking technology is exciting. It gets that impression across, yet without, because you've got like those techie yet like inoffensive backgrounds. They don't look like one of those Alienware laptops with like the flashing lights and everything. But it looks friendly, it looks approachable, but it looks textured and it looks colourful, and it still looks clean and simple rather than just looking like Google, or to some extent Apple do it as well. I mean, Apple like give it no well enough to give it like an injection of that. I mean, there's not a hell of a lot between Apple and Ubuntu, where I think Ubuntu is a bit more to the colour. I mean, Google's approach is more like, hey, like I'm checking my email. It's no big deal. Just email, innit? Doesn't matter. I'm done with it. I don't even remember what happened. And and Apple's is sedate, but they want you to be comfortable. It looks comfortable, whereas Ubuntu is sort of like simple, friendly, but a little bit of excitement. I don't know. I guess it's just that's more on my frequency, and I really like how consistent, appealing, and yet simple and accessible it is. So yeah, I'm really impressed with it. If it works anything like Android, then I personally will be at home, because I love all that stuff with the notifications, swipe down business, and all that. That's right, Miley.
One of the things that, whilst you were talking away, one of the things that I can certainly vouch for is that the Ubuntu phone is definitely more reliable and more user-friendly than my bottle opener, which, whilst we were talking there, I've been wrestling with another bottle, thinking, I'm glad I didn't pick this bottle to try and open at the beginning of the show, because I cannot get the top off it for love or money.
I wonder what you were doing down there, Rick.
But one of the things that let me show you a little bit more coolness before we can start closing off the top. If I bring this up here, I'm going to show you this on the front window here. So all you've got is this little dial here, and you can see that
like
I've got this big circle, like a clock face, and then I've got all these little white dots going around it, and then you can see these kind of circles. Now, this whole interface actually is showing you a bunch of information. So what it's doing, first of all, is from the 12 o'clock position, the little white dot that's highlighted is the day of the month. So as that white thing moves around each day, and for each one of those points is a day in the month. And then those little orange circles that you see that are big and small and so on and so forth, they're actually the messages and communications that have come through to the phone on the days of the month. So the bigger the circles are, the more activity you've had on those days, and the smaller the circles are, the less activity you've had on those days. And I thought that was actually just, very blue sky. And
That's quite cute.
Whoever came up with that, fire them, because they've got clearly too much time on their hands.
I've got to say, on the one hand, I think that's cool. On the other hand, I think it would be slightly cooler if it showed my calendar things that I had coming up. That would be more useful to me if instead of them being orange dots in the past, they were blue dots in the future, saying this is going to be a busy day and this is not. I mean, okay, I won't tell you that much information.
Oh yeah, okay. I see so not giving you any detail. It literally is. Well, do you know what, John? Actually, you're really onto something there and actually, you could quite easily. You could do some kind of either make that configurable, couldn't you, to do just that and to basically take future scopes for the month ahead and pull them in, or you could use a different color, like maybe you could move away from the orange and then perhaps use the purples or something. Overlap the purples so you've got past and future and what's going on.
And to be fair, the last 14 days can be orange and the future 14 days can be purple. They don't have to overlap. Like, I don't care about being more than 14 days ahead, so you might as well use the 14 days behind for something else. I like the idea though. It's cool.
Can we call them horoscopes?
Horoscope.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you get right on that straight away? I'll set up a Google Doc now. And what's the number for the patent office?
Awesome. That's pretty cool then. So I think I'm questioned out, to be honest. But
Okay. So the last thing that I wanted to really talk about was the Ubuntu SDK. Because I've got this installed and it's based on Qt Creator. So it'd be very familiar to what you've seen before, John. But they've really dressed it up and sort of like added a whole bunch of features and functionality to it, so that it behaves very much like Android Studio.
Cool.
So you can just go in and say, I want an app like this, and it's going to be HTML5 app, and I want this kind of theme idea and these kinds of things. Bang, 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 and it builds it for you. And you specify some specifics about the device that you're building for, and it creates you an emulator and hooks it all up and connects it together, builds you a code tree, and then runs your application, and up you run. You've got this app up and running. So for people out there that are interested in exploring this, don't for a moment think that you're going to have to do what I just did there and open up a command line terminal and just develop your next app using Emacs or VI. The SDK tools are really usable, really user friendly, and have really impressed me actually. So. And if you do happen to have a little bit of time at some point, John, I'd encourage you to just maybe install it and have a play about with it, because I'd really like to get your opinion. I'd be really interested to see what you think. Maybe bring that back in another show sometime.
No, I use Qt Creator quite a bit, so it'd be really interesting to see how they've evolved it for this phone development. I mean, I fear it will result in me buying a phone, but but I'll definitely wait until the that one that you mentioned. I've forgotten the name of it. Sorry.
The MX4, the Meizu MX4.
Yes, the MX4 with a bit more power behind it. Because obviously, if there's more power to be had, then I need to get that one. But no, I think I can also, like the cheeky entrepreneur, I guess. It's like I can see the scope for making some of the apps that are commonplace on iOS and Android, and just sharing those experiences on Ubuntu phone. But it'd be quite fun to develop for, I think. So.
Oh, absolutely. You're onto the same thing as me. I've been thinking exactly that and thinking to myself, there's this wonderful opportunity here to get quite rapidly into the market and quite early into the market with some apps. And where those chargeable apps are are a minimum of $249 to start with, and I don't think that maybe you should pitch them a little bit higher than that. But of course, there's so much. What's the word I'm looking for? There's so much space right now, and little noise that it's a great opportunity to jump into that market space. and hence the reason why I'm hoping that I might be able to do something with my Magnatune Magnatune app. I've been looking at possibly doing a Magnatune scope for the music side of things,
Cool.
but they don't have a REST API at Magnatune, so I'm going to have to write some intermediary bit of flanging or shim to make that happen.
Scrape their site.
But for somebody with your skill set, John, I would think you would be you could be churning stuff out. You could be churning some Ubuntu apps out pretty quick, and of course, there's no shortage of ideas out there for functional apps that people would really want and would be popular. Yeah.
Good opportunity there.
So anyway, so that is the Ubuntu phone. I'm going to put it back in the thing before I pour beer on it, and my wife kills me.
It's all right. You'll probably order another 4 more in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, but she's just finished setting this one up, so she'll go bananas on it. But well, and of course we're out of time again. There's another hour-and-a-half show, or well, an hour and 20 minutes, I suppose. We've been chewing at this again, and. But I've really enjoyed talking. I like talking.
I never got that, Rick, but I think it's starting to come to light now.
You've been so shy up till now, Rick. It's good to see you coming out of your shell a bit.
Must be the beer.
So, yeah. So, but yeah. Okay. So, and are you coming back to the UK soon, John? So we can go out for a curry and a few pints.
Intent is to find a week over summer to come back. I'm not entirely sure when yet, but I think it's a necessity to come back and drink. Just £100 of beer. Which probably isn't much, is it? I don't know.
Maybe we do 50 quid, go to the curry house, and then do another 50 quid, and finish it off with the pizza at the firehouse.
You know what would be the perfect evening? It would be curry at the Gandhies in Exeter, followed by the firehouse in Exeter. That would be the perfect summer evening.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to in a couple of months' time. So.
Yeah. If that's not an incentive to come home, John, I don't know what is.
and knowing the firehouse, I suspect that by the time we leave, it'll be light enough to walk home.
That's right.
If it hasn't, we've done something wrong.
Well, I suppose we ought to wrap this show up, but once again, we hope that you've had a really great time. If you're listening to this show or if you're watching it live, go and check out our new website, because it is actually rather groovy. John's done a really good job, and the podcasts are organised in a much more accessible format as well. So go and take a look at that. You can get access to all our shows. Go on, John.
As I say, you can now just click on episodes at the top, and you can see the last dozen or so. Hopefully we'll add the rest on there in the next few days. So you'll be able to see all of our podcasts and download them one at a time.
Yeah, fantastic. And obviously you can get in touch with us, write and email us at show@atrandom.org.uk. We never check that account.
But you can still write the emails.
You can, and you can feel good about that, about the fact that you've written to us and been interacted with the show, and we will, we will respond. It's a guaranteed response. Time frame is 100 years, but we will do that. That's for sure. Anyway, I'm going to shut up because I talk too much. I'm always going on. Great to be with you. Really enjoyed doing the podcast this evening. My name is Rick Timmis, and I will see you soon.
I've been John Wordsworth, and thank you for joining us. See you in a few weeks.
This is Jackson Matthews, reminding you that the people on this show are professionals, and you should not attempt to open a beer bottle with anything but a bottle opener. Be safe.